Today on Goji Center, we return to put an end to the most chaotic war on the internet. After a call to bring forth a champion to take on the animal currently known as Indom 2.0, more than 1,600 brave geneticists unleashed their creations. Many perished. Many found themselves in the Hall of Shame. Some were well built, but only the best of the best will make it to the dreaded stage of facing the pale horse of extinction. After a few rounds, the creme de la creme was rendered down to just 4. Caranoceratops barbaricus, Veropelta, Armatus gigantus, and Yamabrontorax. Who will win? The finale starts now. Let's resume where we left off. Caranoceratops, after passing to the final round, will now square up against another gestalt of some of the most heavily armored herbivores of all time, Veropelta. Both of these animals are highly defensive, but one of them is a shield wall and the other is a phalanx of spears. Getting through the armor of either of them is going to be a Herculean task, but Veropelta relies on having its opponent come to it first, so it can pull a counterattack using that horn and beak, being able to strike at approaches from multiple angles. Whereas Caranoceratops doesn't have to rely on that methodology. Instead, it goes on the offensive much more easily thanks to its more agile frame and easier to aim weapons. Both of these armored herbivores combine aspects of an ankylosaur and ceratopsian, but Caranoceratops focuses more on the latter and Veropelta more on the former. Definitely solid choices considering both types of herbivores had to deal with large tyrannosaurs for millions of years towards the end of the Cretaceous. Both of them have a formidable set of jaws that can grapple and potentially hamstring their opponent with a direct bite to the limbs. Both have other assets to call upon, such as the spiky armor and larger frill on Caranoceratops, making attempts by a 2.0 to climb on top of it or target the neck a fool's errand. Whereas its iron-hided ally bears an alarming threat display to confuse an enemy, and overlapping armor for a near impenetrable defense on its back.
This game, you're not ready for it.
Two of the differences between them is the types of horns and tail-borne weapons they employ. Numerous ceratopsians experimented with different styles of horns, some for chiefly display, some were primarily for competing against their own kind, and some would have been unwieldy against a predator. The nasal horn of Veropelta can still be plenty lethal, but it would be more effective swung upwards to try and stab at an opponent attempting to get past the head and on top of its armored adversary. Meanwhile, the large brow horns of the Caranoceratops might not be as effective when swung up, but they can be used to fence, stab, and be employed as a lance in a charge more effectively. Ankylosaurs also experimented with a wide variety of armor and weapons. Some of these prioritized defense as the best offense. Others might have been focusing more on size for their defense and use their clubs against their own kind. And others still might have focused on predator defense. The primary contributor to the tail of Veropelta, an Odontosaurus, is a dark horse pick. But a study of the mechanics for its sledgehammer tail found an ideal design for delivering crushing hits on a strike. More so than the Ankylosaurus-like club on Caranoceratops that could be swung about quickly, but would have lacked as much striking force. So, these two are neck and neck in so many categories, but the fight methodology for this round will win the day. One of these two is near second to none in defensive fighting, but the other one trades away some of that for better offensive capability. The tail strikes are a superb weapon, but are best done from a grounded stance waiting for the enemy to come to it. Whereas the more accentuated horns of the other hybrid can be used both defensively and offensively. Being able to pick and force the fight against the 2.0 might prove critical. Caranoceratops doesn't need to be faster than the 2.0 to chase it down. It just needs to keep up with it enough to not allow its atrocious adversary the chance to rest in between skirmishes. In the open arena, this contest is set in, that's important. Veropelta would be suitable for rumbles in the jungle, and would be the perfect choice for a flank guard in between skirmishes. But for that full frontal charge, it'll be the shield behind the spear that is Caranoceratops. The elite horned menace gores its way to the finale. The other semifinal features Armatus gigantus evaluated against Yamabrontorax. This matchup is a perfect contrast. A hadrosaur gestalt made by hybridizing numerous contributors and named for a legendary hybrid hero king, contrasted with a simple sauropod design whose power is anything but simple by being built upon possibly the most powerful titan to ever walk the earth. Now, had this been a competition where the hybrids were fighting each other, this would have been a war for the ages. God King against Towering Titan. But it would end with a pretty well-defined winner. Armatus Gigantus is an absolute juggernaut of a combatant and would handily wipe the floor with potentially scores of rabid attackers. However, in the scenario we have, the Tower of Power does have one weakness, in that any engagement has to be on its opponent's terms. The 2.0 can keep a trotting pace and handily outrun its opponent, keeping a distance and only rushing in for hit-and-run attacks or attempting to climb onto its titanic opponent. Make no mistake, Armatus Gigantus absolutely would win a majority of the battles where it got pitted against the 2.0 on neutral ground. It's even one of the few hybrids that could conceivably fight off multiple attackers at the same time and still have a very good chance at winning. However, being able to chase down and keep the pressure on the 2.0 when it tries to retreat or fall back after getting wounded might be critical, something Gilgamesh has more than enough ability to do. Had Armatus been somewhat lighter and kept up a consistent pace better, this very close contest would have been tilted the other way. Gilgamesh still has more than enough mass and strength to crush his opponent, the intelligence to keep up with its strategies, and still has the agility and nimbleness to chase it down if it has to. It wouldn't be reliant on waiting for its opponent to come to it. When the hybrid teams are turned loose against the 2.0 hordes, Armatus Gigantus will prove to be a critical flagship for the team to rally around. The Hulk of the squads as the heavy assault tank. But its Hadrosaur comrade will be the one leading the charge from up front. Gilgamesh makes it onward to the finale.
Writing a book is hard. Knowing if it's good, even harder. Neat manuscript analysis.
Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you the finalists of the Great Hybrid War, Tyrannoceratops against Yamabrontorax. Triceratops and Shantungosaurus. Outside of the most titanic of the sauropods, these two herbivores are some of the mightiest herbivores of the Mesozoic and the apexes of their families. And both of them went against two of the largest tyrannosaurs to ever exist. Both of these combatants are armed and armored from head to tail, with two of the strongest jaws, powerful but agile bodies, excellent reach, and robust defenses. Tyrannoceratops has a very slight edge in offensive capabilities with its one-shot kill maneuver. A full-on charge and goring impalement capability unlike any other hybrid seen in the top 16, being much more straightforward to land. Yamabrontorax, meanwhile, can also end a fight quickly by a combination of a body slam followed up by a headbite and trample. This attack is not as streamlined to execute, but still just as lethal. Gilgamesh, however, does hold a lead in finesse, its longer tail giving it a greater reach, and its body being less stout and able to react quicker. Tyrannoceratops, however, isn't so far behind in that regard by a wide margin. It still has plenty of options to fight back, even if its opponent gets past the horns. How would these two fare against the 2.0? After much analysis and discussion between the Goji Center team on how these confrontations could go, it was revealed that both excel at defeating the theropod in open battle at pretty good rates. Tyrannoceratops fights just like his base contributor. Horns splayed directly at the attacker without the worry of getting a fatal injury if the 2.0 flanks it, thanks to its armor, options to attack at the rear, and a pretty nasty bite with a few nasty side effects. Yamabrontorax excelled at both defense and offense just like Tyrannoceratops, using its massive armored body as a weapon, turning defense into offense in seconds, with options of attack from the front, bottom, and rear, and nearly impenetrable armor on its back. Without any terrain to take advantage of and no sharp logs or pylons, the 2.0 is outclassed in both scenarios. The winner has been decided, ladies and gents, by unanimous decision at Goji Center HQ. The winner of the first hybrid war is... Bull! Yes, you heard us right, Bull! Gilgamesh and Tyrannoceratops were both so well designed that for every one flaw in one, another could be found in its opposite. For every strength and advantage in one, there was another for the other. Truly, this was a war unlike many others. Some of the other members of the top 16 these two surpassed might have had the opposite result in a different lineup. This hybrid war had potentially many more entries that could have defeated a 2.0 in a straight contest. So, to any of our competing geneticists watching, even if your hybrid did not make the honorable mentions, pat yourselves on the back as we give you a thumbs up. Now, with our champions fully rendered and ready to rumble their foe in 3D, we can turn these dozens of viable genomes loose where they are needed most. Tyrannoceratops and Yamabrontorax are now being deployed to the ravaged Isla Nublar as frontrunners of this massive army composed of the other members of the top 16, honorable mentions, and more. These two will lead hundreds of hybrid combatants in Mortal Kombat, and we are sure they will win. Operation Destroy All Hybrids has now begun.